Undroppables Playbook, a football podcast. With your hosts, Ashley and Michael, please sit back and enjoy the show.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Undroppables Playbook, a football podcast presented by the Undroppables, sponsored by Analyst Depot. I'm your host, Ashley. This is my lovely co-host, Michael Duncan. How are you today?
I'm still looking for Dragon Book.
For those confused, I vaguely remember a book about training dragons in 6th grade, and Duncan is trying to help me figure out what it was.
Is it Burn?
No.
Okay. She's
Anyway,
saying it's not Aragon, and I don't believe her because it's just that that's the young adult dragon book.
Maybe it was, and maybe my brain is just like meshing things together, but I really don't know.
Your brain does that constantly, so
I know it does, so it could be very true. Anyway, I have a question for you. What would be your dream NFL matchup if the players were the mascots? Like if the Eagles played football with a whole bunch of Eagles.
What? Can you repeat the question?
If you're in the audience, you're in the stands, you're watching a football game, what is your dream matchup of NFL teams if the players were their mascots?
That's a great question. I'm currently looking through all the mascots. I would have to say, I mean, like, I'm probably dying, but like the Giants and the Titans. Or the Chargers, like, there's just some mythical stuff, you know. Yeah. We're getting gods battling on the football field, and I think that's exciting.
Yes, the Giants are up there for me. I think pairing them with the Titans would pair for a really good matchup to be in the stands for.
I mean, a really bad matchup in reality because, like, they're not fitting on the field. Like, you're dying for sure.
I know.
Like,
but it's a really cool way to go out.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I would prefer TV with like a really good cameraman.
We would need the blimps back.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, yeah, or a helicopter probably with a little more nimble.
Yeah, that's true.
But
very true.
You know.
That guy, whoever's taping that game is winning like an Emmy for sure.
Hopefully. I mean, it probably depends on whether or not it was like a planned event.
You think if they just like met in the backyard, like the news helicopters show up?
Well, no, like I'm talking like in a superhero movie where like all of a sudden all this crap is happening. Like all of a sudden it's Space Jam and Michael Jordan is playing with Looney Tunes and aliens and oh yeah, it's happening down the street. We got to go check that out. Like that wasn't a planned thing.
Okay.
It just happened.
Okay, I can see that. He
Shazam,
definitely wins an Emmy in that case.
In Shazam 2, they like blew up Citizens Bank Park in Philly. So in Dark Knight Rises, I mean, they quite literally blew up a stadium and half the players. So, but Hines Ward did return the opening kickoff for a touchdown. So that's the bright side there.
Yeah, and then in the town, they robbed a Fenway Park.
I've never seen the town.
What?
I always got it confused with The Village, I think, and maybe like one other movie that is like a similar name of like town or village. And I saw I don't know. I saw one of them. And then whenever anyone asked me if I had seen it, I was like, yeah, because I didn't remember. I didn't know there were different movies. I was like, oh, I guess it's called The Town. But I'm pretty sure. I feel like the one I saw was The Town by M. Night Shyamalan.
I don't know. I know it has Ben Affleck.
Yeah, no. Never mind. I saw the one where like they exist in like a culture in the woods.
That start of they exist in already tells me it's not The Town.
But like there's a twist. It's probably M. Night Shyamalan because there's a twist in it. So I'm gonna figure that out.
Okay. Anyway, while you figure that out, I can get started on some news. Week 3 wrapped up. We're on our way to week 4. We had some really exciting news to kick off Sunday. Usher is our Super Bowl halftime show. After weeks of rumors, it is announced he will be the halftime show for this year's Super Bowl and will go on tour shortly after. So if you're a big Usher fan and are looking to buy tickets, be ready because Ticketmaster is not the easiest place to buy tickets. Colin Kaepernick.
It is The Village that I saw.
Okay.
And it was by M. Night Shyamalan.
Gotcha.
So,
Colin Kaepernick sent a letter to the New York Jets basically asking to be signed to their practice squad. He made some points where he talked about, listen, if nothing comes of it, nothing comes of it. No harm, no foul. Basically, like, you're giving your elite defense a chance with a really good quarterback on practice squad. Like, it's a win-win for both of us. And then the following day after that announced, the Jets signed quarterback Trevor Siemian to the practice squad. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I wish it was as simple as no harm, no foul, but like the reality is the press circus that you get by doing that in New York, nonetheless, is the complete opposite as no harm, no foul, because it's kind of like when Tim Tebow was signed. I think he went to the Jets and the Patriots and the Eagles, and it was always a bigger deal than it really should have been because he wasn't good, or even that freaking minor league baseball team that he played with. Like, it's but this is on a bigger scale because he hasn't played in 6 years, and it's like I'm not even 6 years ago. The argument could be made about the talent he had as a football player and how that compares to what the the pros versus cons, how much they outweigh each other. It's just not that conversation anymore. Unfortunately, it's just not.
Yep.
So.
And I do want to make a note. This is happening all while there are rumors and speculation, nothing confirmed, nothing from players, but rumors and speculation that the Jets are turning, the players are turning on Robert Saleh, and he may lose the locker room soon for being too pro Zach Wilson. And apparently the defense is the most pissed of them all.
Yeah, one of them someone apparently threw a football at him, at his head during practice. And it turned into like a fight.
Good.
The reports say that it was not Zach Wilson because he wouldn't be that accurate. Yeah, clever.
Very
right?
True. That was very clever.
Yeah.
Chargers cornerback J.C. Jackson has an arrest warrant out for him in Massachusetts for failing to appear at a court hearing. This came out after J.C. Jackson was a healthy scratch, or like came out at like the same time-ish.
No, it came out a while ago, or a while after. Yeah, because I was live doing the Start Sit show, and that came out. And me and Derek both were like, I don't understand this. He's not the problem.
Okay.
And then like hours later, we find out, this is why, and it's like, oh, well, that makes a lot more sense.
Okay. Yep. And apparently, it's for failing to appear at a court hearing about traffic violations or something. Bears defensive coordinator. We talked a little bit about him last week. It was announced the defensive coordinator, Alan Williams, resigned in part because of, quote, inappropriate activity. Nothing really else was talked about it, but that report came out on Sunday morning. I texted you or Sunday afternoon, 12:30.
Yeah.
Is when that report came out on Sunday. Interesting.
Yeah. I'm still just not going to say anything.
Nope.
I don't know what I don't know.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
I'm not going to contribute.
Big news of the week. We're like the second best podcast of the day because New Heights released today to talk about it. There was a very special fan in attendance at the Bears-Chiefs game this week, and that would be
aware somehow.
Yeah, if you didn't know, if you aren't on the internet or don't watch football. Taylor Swift was in attendance in Travis Kelce's box at Arrowhead, sitting right next to Mama Kelce, amid rumors of the two dating. It was a big hoopla. She was there. He scored a touchdown.
They showed it on Red Zone.
They did.
I forget. I don't know what I was doing, but like I got a notification on my phone about the Chiefs game. And I was watching Red Zone, and so I didn't really look at, like, I saw the notification, but it was like cut off to the point where I didn't see what it was about. So I put my phone back down. I was like, it's whatever. I'll see it in a second on Red Zone. And then it showed it, and I was like, oh my God, that's actually what Adam Schefter just tweeted about. I was not expecting that in the slightest.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. We, do you want to talk about it now or do you want to talk about it after?
Let's talk about it after.
Okay. All right. So the players of the week were named for the AFC on offense. That is Dolphins running back Javon Achane. For defense, it's Bills linebacker Terrell Bernard. And for special teams, it's Colts kicker Matt Gay. For the NFC, on offense, Seahawks running back Kenneth Walker III. On defense, Lions defensive end Aiden Hutchinson. And for special teams, Cardinals kicker Matt Prater. For some notable key injuries from the week, Chargers wide receiver Mike Williams suffered a season-ending ACL tear. Texans cornerback Derek Stingley Jr. injured his hamstring in practice. He was placed on IR. The Texans are now out both of their starting safeties, their inside corner and their starting nickel.
Outside corner.
Oh, outside corner. I wrote outside corner.
You wrote outside. You
Did
read
I say inside? Sorry. Yep. Raiders quarterback Jimmy G is in concussion protocol. Basically, they're reporting that they'll see how this week goes before they determine if he's going to play this week or not. Saints running back Jamal Williams was placed on IR with a hamstring injury. Alvin Kamara doesn't return until week 5, so they'll lack some depth in the running back room this week. And Saints quarterback Derek Carr suffered a shoulder injury during the game. He went to the hospital. All seemed to be okay, but he is considered week to week at this time.
It's Jameis time, baby.
It is. I love any time it's Jameis time. All right. Next, 15-second frenzy.
Alrighty. Ready? Yeah, this is where I get 15 seconds to talk about every game from the past week. Ashley's going to keep me going. She's going to time me. Let me know when I got to move on. And that's about it. That's all you got to know.
Okay. You
Count
ready?
Me down. Born
3,
ready.
2, 1, go.
Giants versus Niners. It is incredible how much I truly just don't care about this game. The Niners looked good, short of some missed throws by Purdy, and the Giants look like garbage. There's nothing different about that from the first 2 weeks of the season. This is a game that belonged in like week 9, where it's not too late in the season, where every game matters, and it's not early enough that we don't know who the teams are yet. Colts versus Ravens. This was a showcase in how reffing is so incredibly bad in the NFL. There were 3 separate huge calls that were missed at the end of the game that helped the Colts take the win. I'm not saying they didn't deserve it because they did win, but seriously, what the hell were these refs doing by not seeing these calls? Were they picking their nose? I have no idea. Speaking of the refs, Titans versus Browns. What the hell was that Amari Cooper whistle on the sideline that stopped the touchdown from happening? He didn't step out of bounds. It wasn't even close. The dude was standing right there. Obviously, it didn't matter in the end, but it's just kind of ridiculous that they called that dead when they've been doing a better job at not calling plays dead, and it's just ridiculous. Broncos versus Dolphins. Tyreek Hill touchdown. Devon Achane touchdown. Devon Achane touchdown. Raheem Mostert touchdown. Raheem Mostert touchdown. Raheem Mostert touchdown. Raheem Mostert touchdown. Devon Achane touchdown. Robbie Chosen touchdown. Devon Achane touchdown. That was all that I could say in my 15 seconds.
Next.
Bills versus Commanders. After a hot start, the Commanders seem to be falling back to reality a little bit with a blowout loss to the Bills. Josh Allen looks much closer to the one we know and love, and at least for the time being, everything seems to be settling down in Buffalo. Meanwhile, with the Commanders' upcoming schedule, one has to wonder how they will fare going forward, and if it's not going to be good. Falcons versus Lions. Drake London had 2 receptions for 31 yards, and Kyle Pitts had 5 for 41 yards. Screw Arthur Smith. He gets what he deserves in an offense that puts up 6 points. Meanwhile, in his first game as the lead back, the 12th overall pick, Jahmyr Gibbs, averaged 4.7 yards per carry on 17 carries. And I'm not really sure why he was ever behind David Montgomery to begin with. Saints versus Packers. An all-time choke job here, regardless of the fact that they lost Derek Carr. But more than that, we saw a very impressive level of calmness from Jordan Love the whole time, not forcing anything and letting the offense come to him to come back from a 17-0 deficit in the fourth quarter. Good news for the Saints is they get Alvin Kamara back. Bad news is they're not going to be with Derek Carr. Texans versus Jaguars. A fullback returned a kickoff for a touchdown accidentally, and that's just an incredible moment. Other than that, CJ Stroud looks more and more like a NFL QB every single game. D'Amico Ryans is going to be a very good head coach. Also, the Jags offense isn't broken in my opinion, more unlucky. Patriots versus Jets. If Robert Saleh isn't careful, he's literally going to get himself fired for sticking with Zach Wilson so hard. That being said, I don't really know what options he has realistically. They went all in on Aaron Rodgers, and he played 4 snaps. Meanwhile, the Patriots almost blew this game in true Chargers fashion, which made the end of an otherwise boring game extremely exciting. Speaking of the Chargers versus Vikings. Somehow the Vikings out-chargered the Chargers, throwing an end zone interception while their home crowd got so loud that it disrupted their ability to run their own 2-minute drill. This was truly like watching 2 gods compete with each other over what fan base they could torture more in a very ancient Greek using humans as pawns sort of way.
Next.
Panthers versus Seahawks. Seahawks were just very calmly dominant. in like what they are good at doing. They run the ball well and they let Geno take what comes to him. The big news on the other side of the ball was with rookie Bryce Young out. Andy Dalton and Adam Thielen had a weirdly strong connection. Two old timers just hanging out. Cowboys versus Cardinals. If there was ever a week that I was going to cheer for Jonathan Gannon, it was this one, and he delivered. Josh Dobbs is actually kind of impressive as the quarterback for the Cardinals, and all 4 of the Cowboys' second half drives made it to the red zone, and the Cardinals surrendered only 6 points. When the Cowboys got within 1 score, offensive coordinator for the Cardinals dialed up a shot play on the first snap of the ensuing drive, which is impressive balls. Bears versus Chiefs. The only thing that really matters here is Taylor Swift, if we're being honest. And it was a really weird moment personally for an NFL fan because like I actually kind of care. It might be because of Jason Kelce or their podcast, but I'm finding myself weirdly invested in their storyline. The scriptwriters did say they had a big ending in play for us in that commercial. And I'm wondering if maybe Travis will propose on the field after winning the Super Bowl to Taylor Swift, because I think that would make for a very interesting end. Who knows?
I'll give you an extra second there because I like that idea. Next.
Thank you. Steelers versus Raiders. 4th and 4, down 8, 2:22 left. Ball on the 8-yard line. McDaniels elects to kick a field goal. Devontae Adams was talking after the game about how they aren't doing the right things to win, and he sounds upset, and I don't blame him because his coach is out here talking about how they needed to have 2 possessions to win a game where they were down 8 after just scoring 8. It's stupid. He's a moron. Eagles versus Buccaneers. Jalen Carter is completely unfair. The Eagles defense is being coached ridiculously well, and I really don't know how to feel about how sustainable it is. Meanwhile, DeAndre Swift is doing things the Eagles haven't seen since LaShawn McCoy, which should be terrifying for the league. The Bucs, meanwhile, still looked pretty impressive in most respects, save for the run game. Bengals versus Rams. Joe Burrow wasn't great, but he was enough to get the Bengals their first win and keep them out of a dreaded 0-3 start. It was nice to see Jamar Chase get going a little bit for the first time this season. And their defense, in reality, was the real winner here, keeping a Rams offense that has looked impressive to start the season at bay. Also, I'm pretty sure Puka Nacua set another record for receptions or something. So
I'm sure.
There we go.
So much this week.
There was a lot. And also so many games that just had nothing.
Yeah.
Like I was going through and there were like multiple games where I was like, there's nothing interesting to take away from this game, really. So
they turned the Chiefs, even with Taylor Swift there, they turned the channel on Chiefs Bears because the Bears were losing so bad. They just switched to the other game. They said, sorry, everyone who's watching, like at a Chiefs bar in Kansas City, they were no longer showing the Chiefs game.
I mean, I don't blame them. The Bears are terrible. They're so bad. And it just keeps getting worse. And I don't like.
Well, let's start there. I have a quote here that I wanted to talk about real quick. We did a lot of talk about the Chargers, about the Bears last week. But there was a quote here from Fields when he asked, I just got a Charlie horse. Ow. Fields was asked about losing by 31, and he put out this big long quote. I'm going to skip a little bit through it. It says, I'm looking at the big picture, life in general, to be honest with you. I think this past week has me kind of look at what are the important things in life, because when things are good, you feel me, not say whatever. I think these past couple of weeks have made me appreciate the little things in life, like being able to play this game. Every opportunity to get to go out there and play, I'm going to have fun. I play my hardest. I thank God for giving me the ability to play. No matter what the scoreboard is, I'm going to keep the same mindset and keep pushing and moving forward. Listen, lots to speak there, but it sounds like
that was a whole lot of nothing. That was a whole lot of nothing.
I know, but like, I don't know. The kid is young, and it feels like he's already at that like that is a quote you'd hear from like an older guy in the league.
It's unfortunate. I mean, like we don't have to harp on it because we talked to. Are you okay? Like, do I need to call 911 or something?
So I got a Charlie horse.
I heard you when you said that the first time. Are you going to be okay? Are you going to be able to make it through it? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it just it sucks. We're not going to harp on it too much, but like he's got talent, and I don't think this is all his fault. He might be bad, but also I just don't think we know, because I think it's very hard to know in that offense. It reminds me a lot of Urban in certain ways of Urban Meyer and Trevor Lawrence, except in a less egregious way, I guess. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we don't
it's
have any
fun.
reports of Eberflus kicking anyone.
Yeah, well,
in practice.
No, quite like Urban.
Well, while we're on this game specifically, why don't we talk about Taylor Swift? Who would thought on all these sports podcasts the main topic is a big main topic is Taylor Swift?
I mean, she's arguably one of the most famous people in the entire world right now.
Yes.
With her tour being unlike any tour that we've seen in a very, very long time, to the level in which that she's performing. And on top of that, you've got all the Taylor's version stuff. And it's unlike, she's a musician that is reaching a status that is far beyond pop star.
Rare air.
Yeah, like it is. Like, I wasn't alive for the likes of Michael Jackson,
The
Prince
Beatles.
to a certain degree, the Beatles. Like, she's reaching that type, and I feel like people are gonna get angry at this, but like, she's reaching that type of thing, because like the reality is she sells out these arenas. She has people saying, like, famous, like, every single one of her shows is an event. And it's not like normally when you see that, it's like this really famous band is going on their final tour ever. And it's like, no, like she's like 30 something doing a tour, and she's still releasing music. And it's just, she's reaching rarefied air. Normally I feel like, at least in my lifetime, when you have a pop star that kind of reaches her status, where she was maybe 5 or 10 years ago, if it's been that long, I haven't really kept track. But like Katy Perry, Ariana Grande, like, they have their moment, of course, and some of them longer than others, but they do eventually reach the point where they're not doing this.
Yeah.
So.
And I feel like you said, it's not something we've seen in our lifetime. So to see it and it not losing steam, doesn't look like it's losing steam anytime soon, is crazy. I was telling you before the show, if they stay together, it's like the closest thing we have to like a royal couple.
Probably
in the US, between sports and like pop. That is probably the closest thing we have to a royal couple.
Yeah, I mean, one could argue like we had Meghan Markle in the royal couple, but that's beside the point.
Yeah, but we didn't have the whole royal couple.
I mean, yeah. I googled American royalty because I wanted to see if people like had an idea of who it was. Like, never mind. Ignore me. Yeah.
Talking about when, obviously not at this level, not even a little bit, but when Tony Romo dated Jessica Simpson,
yeah.
and they always show
that's
Jessica Simpson.
Yeah, that's the closest thing that I think we've seen in a long time. Is like, and it wasn't just Jessica Simpson. Like, he dated like a lot of very high profile, very attractive women that would often come to games. And then you've got Jerry Jones and Chris Christie, same kind of level. I hate both of them. But beside the point. I
do want to read.
It's just wild.
Yeah, I want to read some of these stats. So this is from Front Office Sports. They talk a lot about, the business end of things. Since Taylor Swift showed up to Sunday's Chiefs-Bears game, there's been a 400% spike in Travis Kelce jersey sales. Kelce's podcast, New Heights with Jason, ranks #1 overall on Apple. That was even before the release of the episode where they talked about him dating Taylor Swift. That released this morning.
Research.
Yeah. Kelce adds 383,000 Instagram followers. 24.3 million viewers watched this week, which was the #1 game of the week. And that's with them turning it off halfway through the game. There was a 63% jump in female viewers aged 18 to 49, a 3% increase in Chiefs, 3 times increase in Chiefs searches on the web, a 3 times increase in Chiefs sales on Ticket Hub, and Chiefs sold more tickets in a single day than they did since the start of this season.
Like, we can make all the jokes we want, but like, that is ridiculous.
Insane.
All of those things, like, it's not like, I know Twitter and football Twitter, like, we have a habit, and popular culture, like, we have a habit of like over exaggerating and like kind of making things up to a certain degree. Like, this isn't made up. All those things, that is wild to a degree that we just don't see often. And it's because it's just but it's also very entertaining, and so far most of what I've seen is very wholesome. Like, a lot of, and again, maybe this is just where I'm at on Twitter, but like, a lot of the tweets I've seen are like, oh, by like week 5 you're gonna have Swifties that are like figuring out an NFL offense better than most defensive coordinators. It's very entertaining to me.
Did you see them use the Cooper Cup video where he's like, oh, we got a deep fire zone and they didn't run a replacement fire zone? And they're like, this is what Swifties will be like in week 5.
And it's like, I think it's truly coming from not the point of view of like, oh, women know nothing about football. It's like, no, it's these self-admitted people that are openly admitting that they know nothing about football and are tuning in because they are invested in this celebrity's life, which regardless of whether or not you think that's ridiculous, you know, we follow football for a living and it has an impact on my mental health on a daily basis. So who am I to say what's healthy and what's not? I'm not. So yeah, it's very entertaining, like at the very least. And something you said before the show, like I think both of the Kelseys handled it very well on their podcast. It was very heartfelt in the right ways. It was very, you know, they poked fun at it in the right ways. It felt very respectful in the ways that it should be. And I'm going to steal the other thing that you said because it's just guys being guys. And like, it's so much more entertaining to see a famous dude being asked about the girl that he's dating than it is to see a girl getting asked about the famous dude that he's dating, because the dude is just being up there being a dude. And he's like, all right, now balls in her court. And it's just like, that's so funny. It's stupid funny, but it's just like dudes being dudes, hanging out, being guys. And it's like, it's just a little bit wholesome.
It is. And it's, like I said, the point about the guys being asked about it, it's really interesting because the roles are reversed. Career-focused men are not often asked about relationships and status, like relationship status and love interests, whereas career-focused women often are. When are you going to settle down? When are you going to have a family? When are you going to have kids? Do you have a boyfriend? That question is always posed to career-focused women. You're running out of time. Hurry up. Like, who are you dating? What do you do? Speed it up. Men are never asked those questions. So to have Travis Kelce and Andy Reid and Bill Belichick making comments about
Bill Belichick was a good one.
It was a really good one.
That came out of nowhere.
In case you didn't see, Bill Belichick made a statement where he said, like, Kelce has made a lot of great catches, but I'd argue this is his best one yet.
The biggest catch of his career, catching a touchdown with Taylor Swift and a touchdown. I agree, honestly.
Yep. And Mac Jones was asked about it, and he said no comment, and then turned back to the reporter and said, it's pretty sick, though. To have men actually ask these questions is such a role reversal. And I want to make a point about what you said about it being mostly lighthearted and fun. It's poking fun at it, not at the expense of the women, which often the women are the butt of the jokes. You know what I mean? And like it's either opposite, like poking fun at Kelce, like, man, he's either gonna get flamed in the next song or he's he's gonna go off for the rest of his life. Like, it's to see fun being made not at the expense of a woman in such a high profile relationship, if they're in a relationship or if they're just hanging out, I don't know. But to see it done that way is really interesting because I think it's the first time in a really long time we've seen anything like that.
I mean, it's definitely the first. Like, it's the first time in sports to this degree, because football is so specific in the way that it markets its stars. Travis Kelce is one of the biggest names in all of football media because of his podcast, because he plays with Patrick Mahomes. Like, we compared it to one of the Kardashians dating a basketball player, but like, it was never like this. Never. It was just never like this. And Taylor Swift is arguably bigger than any of them right now, at least. It depends on the time. You could the argument being made for Kim Kardashian versus that, but yeah, it's just it's very interesting. It's very entertaining. Jason Kelce is asked about it on our local radio stations, and he's dropping news, and it's fantastic. It's incredibly entertaining.
It is. So I'm excited to see where it goes. You said she is supposedly going to Monday Night Football at MetLife.
That is, for some reason, a report. She is apparently going to attend I guess she lives in New York. Yeah. Although, in a totally different set of news, apparently she's lending her apartment to Sophie Turner. We're not getting into that because that's a whole different conversation that has nothing. You can't even stretch that to do with this podcast. No. But apparently she lives in New York, whatever. So I don't know, whatever. She's going to attend MetLife Stadium where the Chiefs are going to play Sunday Night Football. What's it going to do to the ratings? God only knows.
What's it going to do to the ticket prices? I want to see after that's announced. Like, I want to see what the ticket prices were before and after.
Who are they? Are they playing the Jets?
I think they're playing the Jets. They're not playing the Giants.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
there's no reason they would have a match. I don't even think we play the Chiefs, but there's no reason they would have a matchup. I think they match up.
Oh yeah, we play the AFC East this year.
Yeah,
we play the Chiefs, but that's because that's our extra game.
Yes.
So, regardless.
Yep. All right.
Andy Reid has the 4th most wins in NFL history. In the Taylor Swift being in attendance. Maybe it's good luck. Apparently, Andy Reid had met Taylor Swift in the past. That's because Taylor Swift, a known Eagles fan from Philadelphia, actually from a little town outside of Reading, Philadelphia, or outside of Reading, Pennsylvania. I have a professor that lives in the town that she grew up in. Known Eagles fan. She had met Andy Reid, I guess, at an Eagles game at some point. So,
and apparently they were like family. Like Andy Reid was like on the podcast. They were talking about that Andy Reid was like family friends.
I believe that.
Yeah, with like.
We need to move on from Taylor Swift, though. It's my fault. I brought us back. He's got the 4th most wins all time, passing Dallas Cowboys legend Tom Landry with 271 wins. So good for Big Red. Hope he got a big old cheeseburger afterward.
Yep. 3 interesting stats I want to talk about from Thursday night's game. The Giants blitzed the Niners quarterback Brock Purdy on 84.6% of his dropbacks. That's the most in the next-gen stats era. During that 84.6% of dropbacks, Purdy was 20 of 31 for 246 yards and 2 touchdowns while being blitzed. Those are really good stats.
The Giants suck.
Giants do suck.
They can blitz all they want. It doesn't matter, apparently. Like, if no one gets there.
Yeah. Which
wow.
is not great. But I do, just an interesting stat to point out. Christian McCaffrey has scored in 12 straight games. And, okay, here's the thing. I really want to talk about this one. I'm going to say, let's just, for fact's sake, that maybe it's a little bit of an over-exaggeration, but I'm pretty sure this is the exact stat I heard, but I forgot to find my source that I got it from. San Francisco, on average, it gets 3 times more yards per play with motion, which is a really interesting stat.
It's not overly shocking because Kyle Shanahan is from the Sean McVay tree. That's not necessarily true. They're kind of just both from the same tree. They run very similar stuff. But regardless, they make use of motion in a way that not a lot of other coaches or teams do. And they have a lot of success with it very consistently. So I don't find that play all that shocking. When you have the weapons they have, and you have the run game that is as impressive as they have, the scheme that they have, like the motion and the ability to open up, get favorable matchups for your incredible role player or your incredible skill players. It's not a shocking stat by any means.
Does Mike McDaniel come from that same tree? It's hard to
Mike
keep up.
McDaniel, yeah, I believe he came from San Fran.
Okay, so that's what I want to point that out because during that, we could talk a little bit about that Dolphins Broncos game because that was some of the coolest use of motion I've seen to enhance a run game in a really long time. San Francisco always does a good job of it, but I think it was just more on display because of how heavily the Dolphins relied on the run, especially towards the end of the game with Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert. They had a creative use of motion like between the two of them. They would often fake it to one back, do a short little check down to another, and it confused the hell out of the Broncos. The Broncos, because of that, had a really tough time setting the edge because they couldn't prepare to set the edge with the motion. It confused them a little bit too much, and they couldn't stop the run. So hearing you say that about San Francisco and knowing he comes from that same tree makes sense.
Yeah, and so he was an offensive assistant under Shanahan with the Falcons. Then he was the run game coordinator for 4 seasons under Shanahan with the Niners. Offensive coordinator for 1 season before becoming the Miami Dolphins head coach.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Yep. So that makes sense. That checks out.
Yeah, he's a nerd's nerd. I love it.
Did you see the video of the picture of the lookalike in the stand?
So it wasn't him?
It's a lookalike. He goes to the games. Yeah.
That I was truly not sure.
Yeah.
Because they were winning by so much. I was like, well, he could go in the stands.
He could go
maybe. I'm not here to tell him what to do.
I saw one that quoted it that was like, hey, who do you need to score in fantasy? And that asking the guy that was sitting next to him and then calling that play from the stands.
I don't know, man. I was open to it. I was open to the idea that he was in the stands, but I didn't ever fully believe it because I was like, I kind of gotta wait and see what the deal is here. I was waiting for someone to say it's a lookalike, so thank you for finally saying that and making me feel better.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Mike McDaniel, former ball boy for the Denver Broncos, grew up, I believe, a Denver Broncos fan. They refused to interview him back before 2 years ago when they hired Nathaniel Hackett, and he got hired by the Dolphins. He could not get an interview for the head coaching position for the Denver Broncos, and he just put up 70 against them. And also screw Sean Payton, who was just like, I don't blame him for being a sourpuss after the game, but like he's made a career of running up points in games, and it's just like, dude, like you're just such a.
They had the chance to set the record of 73 would be the new record. They were up 70 and they had the chance to kick a field goal.
44-yard field goal.
Yep, and everyone was like, maybe he didn't know. That dude definitely knew what the record was. And they didn't go for it.
Someone was telling him on the sideline.
Yeah,
I want to know what the decision was. Like, I get he was probably being respectful.
Yeah.
Would you have done it? Would you have kicked the field goal?
Yeah.
So would I. Mainly because I screw Sean Payton. Like, it's 100% depending on what the circumstances surrounding, like, the relationship I have with the coach, the team, like, that kind of stuff. If it's Eagles, Cowboys, like, all day. Yeah. Oh, my God. Like, there's no hesitation in my mind. Yeah. If I'm Nick Sirianni and it's, like, against Shane Steichen and against the Colts, Doug Peterson, like, I'm not necessarily... I mean, Nick Sirianni with Doug Peterson, they never really overlap, but like he overlapped with Shane Steichen. Obviously, he's from Indianapolis, the Colts organization. Like I'd say he's probably less like it's all those scenarios that probably go through my mind of like how much, not necessarily how much respect, but like how much do I kind of just want to like rub a little dirt in it. Sean Payton and the Broncos, especially with his situation, like he should have just done it. Kind of upset he didn't, but whatever. Like this is the first time I scored 70 points in 1966. Like,
and it's like it doesn't happen often. Set the record, and really, how much like respect is not that off. Like, there's like mutual understandings, but like, come on, it's a league that's not built on respect. It's built on competitiveness. Set the record.
And Sean Payton's the dude who was trashing other coaches in the NFL earlier this season. Like, that's like to me, that's like. Like I feel like you see it a lot in like, I guess like baseball when you hit like when a pitcher will hit a guy with a pitch because they did something like it's that kind of thing to me. Like there's kind of that unspoken code, and like Sean Payton broke it like in a way that we just don't see very often. And it's like, if I'm Mike McDaniel, like I'm aware of that, and I'm definitely I'm putting up 73. 100%. So whatever.
I agree. Do you want to talk about the Chargers now? You want to go past them? We have so much information.
Yeah, we can talk about the Chargers.
Okay. So last week we talked a lot about how there's so often just a whole bunch of really interesting stats and new records set and really cool information coming out of Chargers games. And it's like Justin Herbert like saved the world and somehow the Chargers still lost. They actually won this week thanks to the Minnesota Vikings, who were 11-0.
They won. I don't think they won. I think they failed to lose.
Yes, but the Minnesota Vikings, who went 11-0 in one possession games last season, are now 0-3 this season with all of the losses coming in one possession games. So, I agree. It wasn't really a win. It was more like they just didn't lose. But lots of interesting factoids from the Chargers this week. Justin Herbert now has the most completions out of any quarterback in their first 4 seasons. Keenan Allen has set the NFL record for most games with 11-plus catches in history. Sunday made the 14th game. And also has the most receiving yards by a wide receiver in Chargers history. I got that information from Eric Smith. Justin Herbert is only the second player in NFL history to pass for 400 yards with 3 touchdowns, no interception, and a completion percentage of 85% or higher in a single game. Want to talk about blitzing? The Vikings blitzed Justin Herbert on 40 of 47 pass attempts, which is 85.1%. The reason it held up is because they're incredible offensive line. Zion Johnson had a pass blocking grade of 88.7 and was number 1 amongst guards this week. Rashawn Slater had an 85.5 pass blocking grade, 4th among all tackles, and Jamari Salyer had a pass blocking grade of 79.6.
You struggled through that one.
That pass blocking grade kept getting you tripped up. Say that 3 times fast.
Pass blocking grade, pass blocking grade, pass blocking grade.
That was too easy. No.
But do you think I cheated? Like,
I don't know. Maybe.
How would I have cheated? I don't think it's possible.
I don't know. Okay. Anyway, yeah, Chargers. No thanks to Brennan Staley.
If they had lost, I think there was a very, very real chance that he got fired.
Yep.
And it's unfortunate because you win a game in very like heroic's the wrong word, but very like close fashion. Mm-hmm. And it's like not a game they really deserve to win because, like I said, I think it was more they failed to lose. And if he had lost, I think there's a good chance he gets fired or the seat is very hot. And now like he's going to be able to ride that win for a little bit longer at least. And it's just unfortunate because I just think he's holding this team back. Again, it's another thing we talked about a ton last week, so we don't need to harp on it more this week. But what do you think of the thought of Kirk Cousins getting traded to the New York Jets?
I saw that. I don't hate it actually. Vikings are not going to pay him again. Jets need a quarterback.
If I'm the Vikings, I'm doing everything. I'm doing everything I can to get Caleb Williams.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And that means trading Kirk Cousins.
And honestly, here's the thing. Your number one person you're going to keep happy right now is Justin Jefferson. So if you may have a conversation with him and say, hey, one down year, you get Caleb Williams, then I think you're in a much better position. They're not going to pay Kirk. Jets need a quarterback. The Jets will, if this train keeps rolling with the Jets on how it's going, that place is going to implode if they don't get a quarterback soon. So they're going to sell to get a quarterback. One last thing about the Chargers, though. Mike Williams and Keenan Allen have only played 6 games together out of 34 that they've both been on the roster together. They've only played 6 games together.
You could have told me that was like some type of 76ers stat, and I would have believed you. That's like every stat I feel like I've ever heard about the 76ers and all of their star players. So I feel your pain, Chargers fans.
Yes. All right. Where do you want to go to next? You tell me.
Let's go to the Jaguars because I have some thoughts about this.
All right.
Yeah, so I mentioned it a little bit in the 15-second frenzy, but I don't think their pass offense is broken. I think it's very unlucky, and a lot of this I gathered because Ben Solak from The Ringer wrote a really great article about the passing offense, and there is going to be some regression to the mean in a lot of portions of that pass offense. The drops, Calvin Ridley is responsible for like a lot of drops, but overall the Jaguars are leading the league in drops, and they're leading the league in a very specific stat that I forget exactly what it is, but it's like what?
The one you sent me.
Jaguars offense has lost 15 expected points because of drops so far this season. Most points lost from drops through 3 weeks since 2019. That's from True Sports Media. Like that's such a weird stat, but like again, like I just from watching the game, forget about advanced stats. Watching the game, I see last week it was Zay Jones who like barely missed on like 3 touchdowns, and there was so much of that just when you go to the red zone for that Jaguars offense. It's these near misses, it's these drops, it's these slightly off target throws, and it's the kind of stuff where Trevor Lawrence is playing really well, but it's just not clicking, and it's unfortunate because it's if a few more of those things click, they probably beat the Chiefs last week, and maybe not so much the Texans this week because it was a little more of a blowout than I think anyone was expecting or would have predicted. But the biggest thing here, and this is something that I've never understood, and I don't think I ever will, is Press Taylor. Press Taylor, I want to say, is the offensive coordinator. He has to be, right? He's I believe he is the offensive coordinator. Is he? Yes. Yeah, sorry. He was some type of offensive assistant with the Eagles, and he's been with Doug Peterson for a long time, but he is the current offensive coordinator for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And starting with this season, he is the new offensive play caller, taking those reins from Doug Peterson after Doug Peterson gave them up following last season. It was reported that Doug Peterson took over the play calling in the second half, where the offense performed much better. He denied that in a very similar vein to Brian Dable last week, as we talked about. Not really sure what to make of that. But Press Taylor is a large. I don't know how large because the reporting is very all over the place, but he is a part of the reason that Doug Peterson got fired from his Philadelphia job. Doug Peterson is a fantastic coach. I've sung his praises for years on this podcast. The one thing he's not very good at is coaching his coaches. He brought in a very strong staff when he started in Philly, including Frank Reich, including Jim Schwartz, John DeFilippo, who's a great quarterbacks coach. And look what happened. They won a Super Bowl. They lost both the quarterbacks coach and the offensive coordinator, and they promoted from within. They didn't really interview other guys in a similar way to Nick Sirianni and the way he handled his coordinators leaving this past year. Near the end of his time in Philadelphia, he was intent. Mike Groh was a guy that he was promoted to the offensive coordinator position in Philadelphia and eventually fired because the offense was very bad. And Press Taylor was eventually, I'm going to look real quick, but he was the quarterback. He took over as quarterbacks coach after John DeFilippo left, and then he became the passing game coordinator in 2020. In a period of time that saw Carson Wentz regress immensely with John DeFilippo leaving. And a lot of the reasons is that he's not a hard coacher. Wentz didn't respect him or listen to him, whatever. Obviously, a lot of the problem there is on Carson Wentz. But from what the report said, it's that management, the ownership, basically said to Doug Peterson, hey, like you need to bring in an outside dude for offensive coordinator. You need to bring in some offensive guys. And he was intent on promoting Press Taylor. And it ended in Doug Peterson losing his job. And now look what's happening. What should be a very impressive passing offense for the Jaguars is, in my opinion, probably being held back, at least due in some part, to Press Taylor. I don't get it. I don't get it in the slightest. I get it. You stand by your guys and whatever.
It's the old boys club.
I don't even think it's that. Like,
I think that's a part of it. It's friends helping friends have jobs and make differences. You know what I mean? Like trying to improve their careers and keep them in positions and not embarrass them. And I'm not saying it's completely the old boys club, but if the old boys club mentality factors into it.
I hear what you're saying, and maybe I disagree just because I care about Doug Peterson, and that has a very negative connotation. I'll admit I'm probably biased in that way. This isn't a dude who was like he was brought into Philly by Chip Kelly. He was a holdover from Chip Kelly's staff when Doug Peterson brought him back after Chip was fired and Doug was hired. I think that he just sees something in Press Taylor that nobody else seems to see. And it's more, I mean, there's a massive age difference. Press Taylor's a much younger guy. I think it is very much like this isn't a dude that he's been friends with for like 50 years. This is just a younger guy that he's taken under his wing. And he's like, no, I really believe in this guy. And he's not been a good talent evaluator when it comes to coaching. Yeah. And it's unfortunate because it might ruin what could be a very impressive Jaguar season. But the reality is also that Trent Baalke has failed to do a lot of things to make this
including good. He was also failing to get money to build his stadium, and they're threatening to leave Jacksonville. So
that would suck. Yeah. I guess I don't really have a strong opinion on it, but regardless.
Yep. All right, let's roll through a couple quick ones here. Between their own pick and the Panthers' pick, the Bears have a 38% chance of having the number 1 overall pick in next year's draft. Oh boy, the Bears. Okay, this is about the point you made about the Raiders. Raiders, you sent this one to me. The Raiders are the only NFL team to attempt a field goal in the last 3 minutes of the fourth quarter when down by exactly 8 points with less than 5 yards to go for a first down/touchdown since the 2-point conversion was adopted in 1994.
If there's a cowardice meter, this is 100.
Yep.
It's just like it's I could on one hand talk about this for 30 minutes, but I think it's a lot easier to just say like it's malpractice.
Yeah.
I don't there's no defense to his argument at all.
Yeah. Well, that also brings in the next conversation a little bit about malpractice and play calling. Yep. Cowboys called 27 runs on early downs while losing to the Cardinals. In the last decade, the Cowboys called more early run downs while losing only one other time. That was in Jason Garrett's final year as head coach in 2019. That was a tweet from Warren Sharp. When Mike McCarthy was asked about the high run rate on early downs, he said, quote, "I wish I had been a little bit more aggressive in the passing game on first and second down." Like, no duh, Mike. What are your thoughts on that?
What did we say before the season? Like, go back and listen to one of the podcasts where we talked about the Cowboys and their hiring of who do they hire as their offensive coordinator? It's not Kellen Moore.
They got rid of Kellen Moore.
They got rid of Kellen Moore and they brought in it's an old dude. Sorry, Brian Schottenheimer. A historically pretty horrible offensive coordinator. Mike McCarthy, he wants to run the ball. He told us that. Like, I don't know what to say because I'm not surprised that this happened. I said last week, I'm not convinced in this Cowboys offense. Yeah, they won in blowouts, and that was the defense. Both of the first 2 weeks. They lost Trayvon Diggs. That sucks. He's an all-pro level talent at the cornerback position. You still have Micah Parsons, but you lost maybe the third or fourth most important player on your entire team. Mm-hmm. Mike McCarthy is not like a scapegoat. He's just not a good coach anymore.
And we had this conversation before when we talked about in preseason, talking a little bit about who we thought from last season's seats might have stayed still hot this season and how Mike McCarthy kind of ended on this very neutral note, but how his seat we thought was still in jeopardy. And I think calls like this show that. Having this weak stance on first and second down, early downs, which are passing downs.
Like, it's not, it's 2023. This isn't a mystery to anyone.
No.
It's not establish the run.
Yes.
You don't establish the run to get the pass going. That's not how it works. The Eagles, the Ravens, all those teams, the Eagles did not become one of the top rushing teams in the league last year because they were running it in the first and second quarter. No, they established massive leads and then ran the crap out of the ball in the second half. Because they could, first of all, and also because they had a lead, and that's the way to keep it. It's 2023. It's not a mystery. It's not surprising either.
Like, here's the thing: their run game wasn't entirely effective in like the first 2 games either. Like, Tony Pollard rushed for 70, but a lot of that was during like second half when they were way ahead. They didn't rely on and it wasn't effective. Very effective in the competitive areas of where the game was. The beginning of the game, the middle of the game, the end of the game, they could get the run going because everyone kind of gives up. Weird call to do that. Obviously didn't work out. This was such a Cowboys game to lose. I'm going to say that. I loved it.
I took a nap during that was a 4:00 game, right? I think.
Yes, that was a 4:00 game.
Yeah, I took a nap because
Seahawks. Yeah.
My uncle's brewery had their anniversary weekend this weekend. So drank a lot the night before of my uncle's beer, and
also
took a nap. I woke up, saw the Cowboys were losing to the Cardinals. I kind of just laughed to myself. It was pretty great. It was a nice day.
It was a good time to take a nap because they need to not do that again. Having only 3 4:00 games, I didn't like that.
Yeah,
I didn't like that. Did you see? I'll talk about that in a minute. Last fun fact. I'll let you talk about the Eagles and the couple quotes we have here about Jalen Carter.
Yeah. So. PFF's highest graded players through 3 weeks. I believe this is specifically on the defense, but I could be wrong. On the defense, Nick Bosa with a grade of 93.9, Myles Garrett 93.8, 2 of the best pass rushers in the league. Jalen Carter with a 93.2. That is a rookie defensive tackle. Okay, that's weird. On the bright side, he could be, it's PFF, whatever. What does that really mean? Okay, well, the Eagles' Jalen Carter is tied for 8th in the NFL in pressures, 15, and 2nd among all defensive tackles. Okay. And he's also accounted for only 48% of the defensive snaps through 3 games. Oh, okay. Well, I'm sure it's because the Eagles have a ton of really good players on their defensive line. He's experiencing a lot of single teams. So let's look at this. Notable defensive tackle double team percentages. So this is the amount of snaps that a player plays that they are being double teamed on. Aaron Donald, 55% of his snaps, he's getting double teamed. Yep. Javon Hargrave, massive free agent from last offseason, 56% of the time. Fletcher Cox, that's one of those, makes sense. 58% of the time. So, yeah, I'm sure Jalen Carter is, he's getting that. That's good. Jeffrey Simmons, great player, 60% of the time. Oh, Jalen Carter, 69% of his snaps, he's being double teamed.
More than Aaron Donald.
And he has 15 pressures. And he's second among all defensive tackles and pressures with not even playing 50% of the snaps. He's really good. He's really good. He's a generational talent, and he's already proving it. And he made some insane plays in the Buccaneers game. He had a half a sack. He had a big forced fumble where he just punched the crap out of the ball, and I felt bad for the ball in that moment. He got double teamed and still managed to push back the offensive line, as well as Jordan Davis, who is also having a great season, lest he not be forgotten. On the safety that the Eagles got in the second half against the Buccaneers. So yeah, Jalen Carter, confirmed very good at football, and also has not been a locker room issue at all. His teammates seem to love him, and yeah, so.
Yeah, in his first 3 games, he has 1.5 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 2 additional quarterback hits, and 2 forced fumbles.
And he also had another forced fumble in the Buccaneers game, but it wasn't recovered by the Eagles. So,
gotcha. This article was yesterday, so I don't know if they're counting that or not.
I don't believe that's counted as a forced fumble typically if it's not recovered by the defense. But
yeah,
he's very good at football.
Have what? 14 more weeks of who let the announcers yelling about, I can't believe they let Jalen Carter fall to the Eagles every week, week without fail. I hear it, and I sat there on draft night saying, how the hell did anyone let Jalen Carter fall to the Eagles on our live stream? And it's still true.
Oh, by the way, Nolan Smith drafted at 30th overall. Hasn't done much so far in the season, and but he had one huge play where he just destroyed Baker Mayfield. It only counted as a QB hit. Baker got the throw off, but Nolan Smith murdered him live on television. So those Philly dogs, man.
That's tough. I'll repeat what I say every week. I'm terrified for when the Giants play the Eagles. It's going to be literally
thrilled.
There needs to be several ambulances on standby. Not excited.
Very excited.
Not excited. Duncan, answer me this question. This coming week, will you be watching the Toy Story live stream broadcast from Andy's room?
I will be, because I don't know what to expect from it, and I'm very excited.
I just that they have to animate that so fast.
That's why I'm so intrigued.
Me too.
I don't know what to expect. And I'm thrilled. Hashtag not a sponsor, but I'm very excited for that. And whatever. I don't care. I'm in.
Yeah. I'm curious if there's going to be different broadcast audio, if we're going to get the same broadcast audio from Andy's room. If
they should get Woody and Buzz to. Or Rex and the piggy bank.
Yeah. Who you calling Potato Head?
Well, no, he's dead. So that's why I didn't say him.
Anyway, if you don't know what we're talking about, they will be simulcasting the Jags-Falcons game from London into Andy's room live. We don't really know how they're doing that, but we're very intrigued to see. This is another one of their pushes to get kids more involved in the game. They obviously have their Slime Time broadcasts, in which we're getting a Super Bowl Slime Time, in case you never saw that.
That one I will not be watching.
Super Bowl Slime Time. But I will. I have a Super Bowl function. No one's gonna let me watch the Slime Time Super Bowl. So Andy's room it is. Duncan, where can we find you besides watching Andy's room?
I was gonna say Andy's room, but also that sounds really creepy and pervish. So I'm not gonna say that. Yeah, you can find me just kind of staring longingly at my 2 adult sons in Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. I do love them with all my heart. And they can do no wrong in my eyes. So I hope that they live forever in Eagles uniforms.
And
Oh, and on Twitter at mpdungan75. You can find me live on the FF chat Discord on Sunday mornings at 11:30 Eastern time with Derek Fuchs of the Undroppables answering your sit questions for fantasy football.
Awesome. And you can find me on Twitter at Ashley_Marie with 2 A's in Ashley. You can find me, Duncan, and all the Undroppables crew and all of our content on the Undroppables Discord channels, which you can get access to by becoming a patron at patreon.com/theundroppables. We hope you have a lovely week 4. Hope you're tuning into Andy's Room's broadcast of the Jaguars-Falcons game. And I hope you all have a lovely week of football. Have a good night.
Go Birds.
Bye.